Hello, Croatian Women's Network. I trust everyone is doing well and had a wonderful start to the new year. Today, we travel to the USA to our one and only Croatian Woman of Influence Award winner from Boston, Massachusetts. So that's very exciting. We have Dr. Sanda Erdelez, who is a 2024 Croatian Woman of Influence Award winner in the category of Arts and Culture. Sanda is a professor and a dean of the School of Library Information Services at Simmons University in Boston. And amongst her many honors, she's a well-respected academic and a multi-award winning professional. I'd like to highlight that she is an award winner of the Fulbright Specialist Program Award, in particular in honor of her work with the Croatian academic community. So congratulations, and Sanda, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
It's great to have you here. And while we know from your profile on our website and the Gala book and all of your professional and academic write-ups about your work in this area, what I find incredibly interesting, and likely very few people are aware of, your incredible work in Croatia for Croatia as it was an early fledgling democracy. Would you share with us what that era of your life was like?
Yes, I would gladly do so. So, as many of us who have been around for a while, I obviously had very strong roots coming from Croatia. I'm originally from Osijek, and all my academic background happened in my hometown of Osijek, where I finished my high school. High school was Sanda Erdelez. Then I went and completed my undergraduate degree at the University of Osijek Law School, where I also received my master's degree. And for a period of time, I was an assistant professor. At that time, Osijek was University of Osijek and my law school were among the very first schools, I would say, in the world that had specific program focused on information law and computer law. It was called Informatičko pravo. This was mid-80s. And my interest in this area was what actually sparked my interest to continue doctoral studies in the United States. I was able to get at that point a Fulbright Scholarship that then allowed me to start my studies in the United States and basically afterwards stay here and continue my career here. But an interesting element of my background is that as a student, I was actually a member of Croatian parliament. I was a student representative in Sabor. So I really very early on had like this political engagement as a very young person.
That's incredible. And what sorts of things did you get to touch in that role?
In that role, it was very interesting. It was still the time of redesigning educational system. In Croatia was at times still part of what used to be Yugoslavia, but there was very early movement to put the students together and discuss what some of the transformation of education opportunities and programs will be in the country. So this was the main area of getting feedback from my colleagues, bringing these thoughts to Sabor, presenting these ideas, making sure that students' voices are heard, not only voices of other parts of the country.
That's quite an influence, my goodness.
Yeah, I think it served me well afterwards. You can imagine from the perspective of young 21-year-old, at that point, Sabor was very much focused on middle-aged guys. So being able to mingle there, present interests. All my other colleagues, there were 4 students altogether. I was the one from Osijek. Everybody else were guys. So it was quite a bit of
Wow.
kind of reaching out and making sure that the voice of young generation and women were called.
Did you feel that it was daunting at the time?
It was. I have to say it was. There was a lot of patriarchal type of referencing. For example, I don't know, it's maybe interesting to mention, but other members of the parliament would refer to me as Mala, which in
The little one,
if it's a little one,
the girl.
I was never Mala in terms of my height, but you find your space, you get your voice out, and you don't let the space define you. You find your position and share what you want to share. So hopefully, I succeeded doing that.
I love what you just said, define your position. And I would say I'm probably just a generation behind you. And I would agree with that. And yes, there were times where there was an expectation that I would be bringing the coffee, not the strategy. And you recognize it. But I always found that if you came prepared and you were articulate and clear and concise, and understood what your mission and your goal was, and could present it in a way that supported whatever the business of the moment was, some of that got stripped away. It took some work, but it focused the conversation in a different way. Would you agree?
Yeah, I fully agree. Obviously, we all start somewhere. Nobody comes with all experiences, all understanding of how a system works. And sometimes if you are underestimated by others, called Mala, you actually have more space because nobody is expecting much of you. So you can outdo it and really find your position and surprise everybody, which I feel can work as a benefit rather than as a kind of a barrier.
I would agree. And looking back now to Sanda, who was 21 years old and having a massive impact on an entire country's education architecture, and given your career in academia now, do you look back and do you see results and programs that were inseminated at that time?
Yeah, what is interesting is obviously that was that experience, and then there was a lot of educational experience when I came to United States, and then as we know, there was war and all things that happened in Croatia. And then I started my career here. So sometimes chronologically, it seems as if there was like a gap where I was focused more on my educational growth and, getting Ph.D., being mom, having one kid, having the other kid. So life happens. So sometimes these parts seem to be chronologically disconnected, but in terms of experience, I feel it was constantly building and adding, just being able to talk in front of the group of the whole assembly being recorded was a very challenging experience initially, but it was something that I could build on as I was developing my own academic career. And, now in the role of the dean here at Simmons, I really need to be up front. I'm the front person, and all these experiences were extremely helpful, as much as they were maybe frightening and challenging at the very beginning.
As all things are when it's the first time, and in such a circumstance and with such gravitas, I could imagine feeling the pressure of all of that as a young person. And so how do you then perceive, having gone through that experience, I would say today's generation of young women, and would you encourage them to get involved politically, for example?
I think that everybody needs to find what motivates them. And sometimes what motivates you could be some more substance that is related to some domain or knowledge. And sometimes is what motivates you are some higher issues related to environment, related to society in general. And once you know what your guiding light is, what your North Star is, you basically go after it. And the thing is that North Star then, I guess, shines on other aspects of your life too. So it's really, from my perspective, interesting to find out that focus on one area, which maybe at the beginning was more political area of engagement when I was very young, suddenly then over time had influence of academic and other areas. So, you know, as you get older, these areas kind of morph from one to another. And, you know, and also there is life happens, you know, I'm now in the United States. I'm as where I'm situated. I have a specific set of roles here. I'm not currently engaged in the political sphere in Croatia, but I'm so much connected still with my colleagues in academic world. So there is always way as you grow, you kind of morph from one connection to another. I feel that being adaptable, flexible, follow where the trends are, it's most you can do in your life as long as you have that kind of North Star that guides you.
So interesting. It is interesting how those experiences or those situations that we're thrown into as young people, we don't realize how they will really benefit us later on. Even in that moment, it doesn't feel very good.
No. Yeah, that's true.
Talk to us a little bit about your academic connections and support of Croatian academics.
So my field of research, while I was mainly focusing on research, is library information science. And I'm specifically focused on human information behavior, the way people go about finding, using information. And this is really an underscoring element of everything that we do. You know, our information behavior really guides all these exchanges and interactions that we have in our life. So in that role, I've been keeping very close connections with my colleagues at several universities in Croatia, specifically in my hometown, Osijek. One of the projects that we have been working lately on is understanding the information needs of patients and caregivers of patients who have Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
And how libraries could assist in providing this type of support. So this has been an ongoing project. We have quite a few publications at international conferences in that area. And what is even most important, I feel, we have developed a setup of services and materials that are accessible to people locally in Osijek and the region of Slavonija and Baranja in that area. So I'm extremely proud of that work. And as a Fulbright specialist, a year ago, I was also involved in assisting them in developing their programming in library information science. So some of my experiences from Simmons as a dean here at School of Library Information Science, I was able to translate in making sure that programming at University of Osijek is also up the standards and you know, developing under the influence of all the new technologies.
How remarkable. So still having quite a direct influence on education in Osijek and in Croatia. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell us, Sanda, what do you like to do when you're not working and changing the world?
Okay. Well, thank you. I hope I'm changing the world. But so what do I like to do? Well, I have one hobby that emerged during COVID time was I, as an older person, decided I want to start playing piano. So this is something that I enjoy doing. I know only one song really well, but you would not know that I don't know anything else. So that's one thing. And the other thing is I also developed liking of gardening, and also having a mini garden in my apartment here in Boston. I like growing like seeds and, seeing how plants develop, and have a selection of cacti and various exotic plants that I'm trying to grow.
Oh, wow.
So that's
That's
it's
quite
kind of
satisfying, isn't it?
it's satisfying. Really, anything you can get your hands on, make them dirty, and then nurture these small plants. Sometimes playing music to them. This is what I really enjoying. And and there are many other like more regular activities. Being outside in the nature and taking walks, reading, going to watch, binge on various programming now on the
What are you binge
TV.
watching now?
Ah,
Or most recently?
the most recently, it's this For All the Mankind. It's on it's on Apple Plus. It's some kind of futuristic movie about US being on the moon, and having like alternative history of not presidential elections going how they did go. So
Okay.
it has like 3 seasons or maybe even 4. So I like those that like last long.
Okay.
So that's the one that I'm currently watching.
And what do
And
you
I love it. It's
do?
really,
Okay.
I don't like any type of movies where there is violence
Yeah.
or they scare you. I just don't like that. And if it's too sweet and too much lovey-dovey, I don't like
Also
that
not
one.
good. What are you reading right now?
I'm reading right now is it's like what am I reading right now? I'm actually what I'm reading currently is an issue of Ladies Journal
Okay.
from 1900.
Oh my
I
goodness.
just bought it a few days ago in an old bookstore where for $25, and it's amazing. It's like really almost like a little book, but it has all sorts of historical references, what they were expecting that 100 years in the future would look like, and what women will do, what was expected from women. And it's amazing. I think I'm going to go back and buy a couple of other issues to have a
Incredible.
better understanding of what was going on 125 years ago.
And how far off or on was the prediction?
I Where they were pretty close is knowing that you will be able to talk with others through some kind of phone device.
Okay.
But they had some very odd projections that like strawberries will be like size of melons, and so there was more about how food would like
Okay.
than how people would really communicate. But there were a couple of points of communication, and a lot of like input about what life of a woman in a house would look like,
Yeah.
and how you would be able to buy food that is already prepared rather
Oh,
have to go.
wow.
So they
They were on the ball for some
they were on the
things.
ball for some things, but
Interesting.
some were just kind of obviously that you will have there won't be any wild animals anymore. They were
Okay.
saying no horses, even domestic. I don't know. So
Interesting. My
yeah.
goodness. Well, finally, Sanda, thank you for sharing that. We always ask our podcast guests, what does success mean and look like to you at this point in your life and in your career,
Mhm.
and having won the Croatian Women of Influence Award?
What does success look to me? I, I think success to me right now feels like not having worries that I don't think I could handle, and
Okay.
also knowing what I what my skills are, what my strengths are, so that I could find myself in navigating successfully uh, through various challenges that there might be.
Yeah.
So this is like having internal stamina, strength, that I can
Confidence.
rely on myself.
Yeah.
That's what I see as a success. I feel as we were younger, we all kind of doubt, and there is so much in the future that you don't know what it will be. And then at some point when you look back, you see, oh my gosh, look at this challenge, look at that challenge. I
Yeah.
navigated all through those successfully,
Yeah.
or the best I could.
Yeah.
And I have that trust in myself that
Yeah.
I can do this in the future, and I don't really need to worry so much about that.
I love that. Less worry, so important.
Yeah,
What advice would you give to up and coming young women in general?
I would say make sure you nurture curiosity,
Oh, I like
because
that.
yeah, curiosity will allow you to find yourself in various type of situations, and the more situations you go through, you will
Yes.
enrich your personal toolbox that will then make you stronger and stronger. Sometimes they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but I don't think we need to worry about these extremes.
No.
There are many things in our lives that we don't know what the future might bring. But if you have a strong toolbox, and you will then be skilled to be adaptable, to be creative as you find yourself in various situations. Um, I know we are at the end of our conversation, so we didn't have time to really address some unique aspects of my research, but I'll just end with this. I'm the one who, as a part of my research agenda, studied serendipity and how people find information by accident,
Wow.
and being curious and accepting that information. I feel really is a good skill set to have as young women and men go through life.
Yeah. I would just add to that, in my parlance and in my perspective, for me, it's always asking the why. I always want to know the why of something, because it unleashes so much information and such depth of information that you would otherwise not get, because we package communication, we package things.
Mhm,
And especially in today's day and age, everyone has a shorter and shorter time span, and that
mhm.
that has to be frustrating to you as an academic, given your long studies. But I always find that if you just scratch even a little bit under the surface by asking, why are we doing this? Why did this person do this? Why are we in this situation? It's just a world of rich information that you otherwise wouldn't get to.
Yeah, and you need to accept that over time you need to recognize that you have this internal radar recognizing
Yes.
what matters, what doesn't matter, and if something catches your attention, don't just walk by. You need to ask yourself why, what's going on, because this kind of connects you with your more intuitive element of your how you get information, which I feel again, as you go older, you more experience, you use that personal radar to engage with information and decide what matters to you and what doesn't.
It's a whole different exploration, isn't it, at that point?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
that's great. Well, Sanda, thank you so much for spending this time with us. What an interesting world you occupy, and we congratulate you on all your success and wish you much, much continued success. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. This was really a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Well, folks, we come to the end of another podcast session. We'll see you in a few weeks. And don't forget, it's time to start planning your visit to Zagreb to join us for our 10-year anniversary of the network at our conference on March 7th in Zagreb. And of course, our annual Croatian Woman of Influence Awards Gala on Saturday, March 8th. We look forward to seeing you then. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.